Today we're going to be looking at how to make our coil slab artwork under the sea. So you're going to need your plan somewhere nearby, a rolling pin, a clay mat. You're definitely going to need a cutting tool, and you'll have an assortment of other tools at your table. The first thing we need to do is we need to cut out that circle that we've designed our artwork around on a slab of clay. So your teacher should have handed you a slab of clay. And you want these to be about pencil thickness or so, so you can always put 2 pencils on the side to double check while you're rolling. But when we use our roller, we want to keep our hands in the middle. We actually don't want to use these handles out here. They'll keep us off balance. And we want to go all the way side to side. If it sticks a little bit, just unroll it and let it go back down. And we just want to go all the way over and back. And then you can check it with a pencil side to side. Make sure it's about the thickness of a pencil before you use the template. We're going to be using our blue plastic templates, and when we do that, we put it kind of in the center, or if you know you're going to use a lot of your clay, you can even line it up with a top edge and a bottom edge. Hold it with your fingers, use one of our cutting tools. You're going to put it all the way down. Keep it at an angle over here. You don't want it straight up and down. You want a nice angle, and you want to hear the zip. That means you're pushing down all the way to the fabric to cut your circle out, and you might have to change positions to come back around the other side. Then you can move the template very carefully. You might have to hold it down in the middle a little bit. And remove your extra clay. Now you have your canvas surface that we're going to be building on for the rest of class. If you want to make sure this doesn't stick, place your hand over it, flip it over gently, and then you can lay it back down on your mat. Okay? So the first thing that I want to do is I want to look at my texture plates to add in my background. I'm not going to worry about anything I'm building up on top as part of that relief. I want to worry about my texture background. So my water and my sandy bottom. And I think for my water, I can look through our various templates that we have in here and find something that's water-like or tree-like that kind of goes side to side. I want to use the bumpiest side on that plate. I'm going to put it gently on. And then I'm just going to walk my fingers around it firmly, but I don't want to flatten out my clay any more than it already is. So be careful that you're not pushing so hard you're flattening out your clay. You just want to push firmly enough that when you pull that template back off, it leaves a nice little texture of pattern in there. If it's not enough texture for you, go ahead and place it back down, and you can push even a little bit more firmly on there. It might move your clay around a little bit. I like to kind of go side to side too. And then you can pull it back off. And if that's deep enough for you, if I can lift this closer to the camera, you can see that nice texture in there for my water. And then for down here on my sandy part, where I'm gonna have some coral, I think I'm gonna use my little buttonhole type texture plate. Same thing. On that side, I'm gonna push in firmly all the way around, and then pop it off. And if I have a little spot I missed, I can go back over like this, just on the edge. Now you can see I have my water and my sand in there as part of my planning project. I also want to add this nice piece of coral over here, so I'm going to go through and do that since that's in the background first. I kind of had a jagged edge, so I can use my drawing tool for that jagged edge of coral that I did. And then my plan in there is I have some really big loops. So I think what I'll do is I'll take a pencil with an eraser or without an eraser, and I'm going to go through, I'm going to put those big holes in there. I want to be careful I'm not pushing all the way down and through to my mat. I just want to keep these about halfway in, and this is going to give us a really nice texture in here. So when we paint this later, it's really going to pop. Okay. So now I have my little coral in there. The next thing I want to do is start building up. So the next thing that would be in my picture is going to be my seaweed. So I can carefully move this over, and then I can take some of my leftovers, which are the correct thickness, or I can even make them a little thinner. The seaweed tends to be a little thinner sometimes. Before I ever cut it though, I want to flip it over to make sure it's not going to stick my mat. If your needle tool gets dirty, make sure you clean it off. And then I'm going to cut those similar shapes of seaweed that I had planned out of my clay. I could even do them side by side and save myself a little bit of time since they're similar in shape and style. Now I cannot just lay these on here and expect them to stick. I have to score and slip these when I put them on, okay? So Tilt this back at my angle. My first piece goes over here. So when I'm scoring and slipping, if I want to know where it's going to go, I might give myself, whoops, a couple of little guidelines. So I'm going to poke some very small holes on each side in my plate. So to attach a piece, what you're going to do is you're going to do the score and slip method. So when I put this over here, I can kind of figure out where it's going to be. And then I'm going to kind of gently, very carefully outline it on my clay slab. And then I want to score it, which means I'm going to make kind of like a crisscross pattern or a checkerboard pattern. I need to do the same thing on the back of here, because what these are going to do is they're going to zip lock together. Okay, they're going to kind of be like Velcro. And then I have to put a little bit of water on one side and a little bit of water on the other side so that it goes down in those cracks. And then I'm going to turn this over, put it right on top where it was, wiggle, push, wiggle, push, wiggle, push. And this is going to lock it in to the rest of my artwork. I might smooth it out a little bit to make it look like smooth seaweed before I add my lines back in. Then I'm going to take my needle tool and I keep it at an angle a little sideways, and then I clean it off each time. If you don't clean it off, you can get like little clay boogers that start building up on your artwork, and nobody wants clay boogers. Those make it look messy and they get in the way, and they're really kind of scratchy and sharp after we fire the clay. So we're just going to make sure we don't have any of those in our seaweed. And keep cleaning it off just like that so you can see all the extra clay on there. All right, so the next thing I want to look at working on is I think I'm going to put my jellyfish in here. So when I do that, again, I'm going to find a piece that kind of already fits, that's similar in shape if I have one. So I'm just going to pinch off the edges here, round out the top, maybe pull it down a little bit. So, and I can't just stick it on, right? I have to do that score and slip. I'm going to put him on here, trace around the edge, scratch, 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 scratch. Same thing here. And you notice I'm working pretty quick, okay? I'm not taking a long time. We don't have a lot of time today in class to work on these. We want to get them finished during this class. So I get them wet, wiggle, wiggle, push, wiggle, wiggle, push. And then I might smooth it out, okay? And I had 3 little lines on my jellyfish, so I can put those in with this tool. Or if I want them a little thicker, I can use one of our loop tools. They have a loop in the end, same premise. At an angle, you kind of do a little scoop, clean it out, scoop, clean it out, scoop for the jellyfish head. Now I need to make those S coils on here. So I'm going to get some of this and I'm going to cut off a little bit. And they aren't going to be quite that long, so I could probably break it in half. And I want to roll it gently on my mat so that I get that coil shape, right? Those long skinny worms we've been talking about. I want it to be fairly even. And then for the S shape, I'm going to pinch it sideways like this, right? Back and forth, kind of like that. And if I want it to be like my picture and get tinier and tinier until I pinch off the end, I would do that. Again, can't just stick it on here, right? You have to score it. Where are you going to put it? And you have to score the back of this one too. Put a little water on. Add it down. Wiggle, push, wiggle, push, wiggle, push. Just like that. Now this is where I have to be a little flexible because I had planned on 3 jellyfish tentacles, but really I can only fit 2 on here, so I'm just going to be flexible and leave that like it is. I think I am going to go back though, and I'm going to add a little bit more defined line between my sand and my coral in the background now that I have my seaweed in. I can just scoop that out of my way like that. Now I want to add my snail coil. So just going to coil, you can either do it in your hand or you can do it down here. Because my snail goes around and has a snail, I can kind of do both to start with. I can pinch and turn like this, but I can leave the little tail part. I don't have to wrap the whole thing around, right? So then my little snail is going to go down here. I'm going to give it the little scoring. Score the back because I flattened him out a little bit while I was rolling, so I'm going to make this the back side. A little bit of water, a little bit of water. Wiggle, push, wiggle, push. I want to be careful I'm not ruining my texture background. And then for his head, or his tail, I guess I did him kind of backwards, didn't I? Can add in a tail with some of that slip. And then I might even add in some tiny little antennas with an itty bitty piece. And because this is so tiny, I can't really score it. I'm just going to get it really wet on there. And then push it in there. Wiggle, push, wiggle, push. And sort of smush it. There we go. Into my little snail that I have. And then I have some starfish. So I can take these. I'm actually going to roll these in a ball. Right, like that. And then I can squish them a little flatter. So this is our pancake method. And then I can cut out little triangles and start making it look like a star. And it doesn't have to be perfect because I'm going to go back and pinch these to make it look even more star-like in just a minute, like that. So I can pinch and now pinch each of those stars. I hold it pretty tight in the middle, and when I pinch, I also push in a little bit so they don't fall off. And that is big enough. I'm going to score that. Add a little water, add a little water, wiggle, wiggle, push, okay? Now, once I have my clay slab done, I'm gonna flip it over very carefully, write my name on the back, and what's super important this year is that you do your class code on here, which is your color of the day that I see you, and your grade. Super important because they're all going in the kiln together at the same time. We're gonna put those in the drying rack in the back.